Just because the basketball world is shut down doesn't mean your knowledge of the game should too. Sports Business Classroom is here to go in depth on a different area of the business of basketball each week. Coming to you live from his home office, here's your host, Bo Estes.
Hey, we're calling a little audible this week. Welcome to the SBC Web Show. I'm not Bo Estes, I'm Albert Hall. We are awaiting Bo's arrival here for the show, but wanted to welcome everybody in for our web show. We took last week off. There was a lot going on in the world, obviously in the bubble, and just felt that it was time to take a week off, but excited about this week and wanted to, as we get into these shows each and every week, just thank all the people who've helped us get through this pandemic, the frontline workers, our first responders. We're seeing that every day this thing is taking new turns. Some days it's better, some days it's not, but these people are still out there working hard and providing us the food we need and the safety that we desire. Also, very important for us all to remember that Black Lives Matter. We are all involved in this fight together. For racial injustice, and we're doing, each and every person has a role to play, and whether you're on the front line of this battle or in the background, it's something that we all need to acknowledge and do what we can to improve the quality of life for everybody in this country, particularly those of color. So I just want to say thank you for the participants who made a commitment to us at Sports Business Classroom. It was one of those things that we weren't sure what we were going to do with the virtual conference. We decided, look, this is an opportunity for everybody to dig into this virtual conference and say, look, what is it we can bring to the table? We have great speakers. We have great people across the platform. And one of the things that we did is we saw 92 students really jump into this program with 2 feet. They made an unbelievable opportunity into really putting themselves out there and committing to this program. And I'd like to bring in 3 of the commitments and 3 of the students, our alumni now that we call them, after the course, 3 of our alumni from last 2 weeks ago's course, the SBC virtual conference. Our first, if you want to bring those in, Dev, we can talk. We've got 2 Devins today, thanking show producer Deven Dismang. Deven Parikh, who is from New York, right, Deven? Buffalo, New York. Okay. And I know we got 2 New Yorkers on and 1 in LA today, but Deven had an unbelievable experience, and we're going to hear a little bit about that today. Our second guest today, another alumni, is Lawrence Brooks. Lawrence, how you doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Lawrence is coming to us from Los Angeles and via Seattle. I've known Lawrence for a number of years, but he participated in the program and did an excellent job, and want to hear some of his stories and takeaways from the conference. And then our last one is Daniel Lubofsky from another New Yorker. Daniel, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me back with part of the crew. Yeah.
So look, hey, the intro, I didn't prepare an intro, so it may have been a little jumbled, but at the end of the day, this was a program that you all participated in. Typically, we're in Las Vegas doing the Sports Business Classroom. Behind the scenes at Summer League, it's the immersive experience. And instead, this year, we called an audible, as we often do this time. And now we have the virtual experience. So as we went through that, we saw 35 different speakers come through. Okay. I hear Bo is coming in, so we're gonna hand that off here shortly. But I just want to, again, kind of paint a picture for all those people who didn't participate in SBC, that really 35 different speakers, all of these different activities. Larry Kuhn, obviously our GM, Bo Estes, Jeff Fellenzer, Dave Dufour, Seth Partnow. We had a number of great instructors, Charles on the coaching side, but really dig deeper into these areas of the sports business that everybody's trying to learn more from. We see the value of the young talent like yourself. There's Bo. How you doing, Bo? Give me one sec and we'll hand
I'm
it over.
enjoying this, Albert. You just keep going. I'm learning a lot here.
Okay. I wasn't quite ready for the open, but hey, you know how
No,
we
you
do
knocked it out. I'm impressed.
So hey, but again, this was something that we all learned from. As the week went on, we downloaded each and every day. Larry put a tremendous amount of passion into this, as did Bo, Wes Wilcox. And to bring in people like Ryan McDonough and others, really added to the flavor of the conference, but also just the depth of some of these instructional workshops, some of the instructional practices, the homework, the mock draft day deadline, a trade deadline, which was unbelievable. But really, and then the speakers that provided just a really well-rounded inside look through the virtual eyes that we have now, which typically are on site at Summer League, but an inside look at just the different areas of this business, whether you were, a front office executive, a head coach, a GM, a scout, an agent, all these different folks that came in and gave us an inside perspective. The whole idea is to develop that body of work with young people like the three we have here today, and older executive or more experienced people like Bo and myself. We're all learning from it. And that was the beauty of it. And doing it virtually, I think we saw that the platform really was fantastic and just provided a lot of interaction and engagement for the students, maybe more so than they would typically have, even being on site in some regards. But Bo, if you want to add a little to that, and then maybe we go around the room and start to get some of their feedback.
Well, first of all, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We've talked all week long about this, so I'm thrilled, seriously, to have all of you back talking about the experience we had at the SBC virtual conference. I'll give you a little slice of what life is like when you work at a country club network like Turner Sports. If I would have had a technical breakdown then, I would have just pushed on a bunch of buttons and screamed engineering. But now I have to do it myself, so this is what we're all learning to do now. And you saw how well I did that. Albert, I hope you're updating your resume to include emergency host in there as well.
You know us, man. Hey, we'll do whatever it takes.
Exactly.
Especially having it from SBC headquarters here, so it was easy.
Well, one thing I wanted to do, and we talked about this earlier, is sort of go around the room and give people an idea of each of you guys of where you are, what you're doing, and sort of where you're going. Daniel, you're sort of next to me on the screen, so I'll start with you. What's the situation with you? What are you doing? What are you working on?
So right now I'm actually in my last semester of college, which is quite the experience given the current climate. And so my foray into the sports business classroom was I'm sort of going more into the sports media, sports journalism side. And Bo, I think I chatted with you a bit and you said that it's really good for that as well. But then it's something I said to everyone who I interacted with, like no matter what you were going into, you could always learn more about everything else that SBC had to offer. So whether it was the CBA, scouting, analytics, the job courses, it was really an immersive experience.
And you're a managing editor at Night News and a writer and editor at Hoops Habit. Tell me a little bit about those two gigs.
Yeah, so the Night News, I go to Queens College in New York City, and so that's the student-run newspaper. We've had to obviously make some big adjustments during the pandemic, but we were running.
Like what kind of adjustments are you making?
Just in terms of, well, so one of the things we did was we started publishing over the summer. And in terms of adjustments, I think it's just harder to write stories because it's a lot harder to contact people. You can't just go visit them. You have to reach out to them or reach out to the people who then reach out to them. And so we're doing really well, but it's definitely been different.
And tell me about Hoops Habit as well.
So Hoops Habit was sort of my introduction into, I guess, the writing, blogging side of basketball. I've been there for, I think, a couple of years now, and it's a great website, I think, for anyone who really is trying to start somewhere within sort of the blogging, writing field. They give you a lot of freedom in terms of what you want to write about. And for anyone looking to try and start in that field, I think it's a great place to begin.
Lawrence, I'm insanely jealous of you. You're in LA, right?
Lauren, can you hear us?
Can you hear me, Lawrence?
That is correct.
You're a lucky dog, man.
I can hear you.
Good. So let's touch on what you're up to. You're the host for Hoops Ball Mavs. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started a podcast. I cover the Dallas Mavericks for a online publication called hoopball.com, and we have a ton of different podcasts covering the entire NBA, but me in specific, I cover the Dallas Mavericks. And so I've been doing that now for a little over a couple of months, I want to say. It started out as I was kind of going to start doing some writing and blogging for them, but then it just turned into covering as a podcast and wanting to get into sports media and sports journalism. It was a good way for me to get into that. I've also been covering the Washington Redskins for a online publication called footballguys.com. But unfortunately, this season, that will not happen. We're not doing any coverage for recaps, which is what I did. I would recap the Washington Redskins,
The Washington football team, right?
Football team. Apologies to everyone out there. I was covering them, but this season we are going to take a hiatus on that. So been trying to just keep my pen, active. Also developing my podcast voice because I love covering the NBA. I love the game. And I love breaking down players and analyzing. So I've been trying to stay active and build my portfolio, so to speak, as, one of the common mantras around SBC, as we were talking about, building your own work and being able to show it. And so that's the way I've been going about it.
It's very cool, man. Very exciting for you. Deven Parikh, talk to me. I know one of the interesting things you do, and I see it all the time on Twitter, you're running the Jumps fan account. Tell me about that. Give us the sites or give us the handle so we know what it is, and then explain what you're trying to do and how that works.
Yeah. So the Twitter handle for it is @NBA The Jump, and the website is called www.nbathejumpfp.com. So you can go check that out. That's where I update the blogs, put in Jump Recommends, any videos or any other content that was discussed during the week. So I've been doing this for about maybe 3 years now. This is I think my third season doing this. And it's a hobby that I've been doing. And the reason I started the whole thing was because I thought something with that I love to watch, and concerning the fact that they don't have a official Twitter handle for it. So I just kind of jumped at the opportunity to create my own account and just kind of do it that way. So,
but you saw an opening in the marketplace, and you thought, I'll fill that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just doing this for 3 years, and it's already gotten 7,000 plus followers. I'm active on it all the time, and just try to get it out there, just promote the show and how great it is, and just how much I'm a huge fan of Rachel Nichols and ESPN for creating a daily show such as this one.
That's fantastic, man. And tell us sort of, if we're going to all go through this, but we did this SBC virtual conference, and it was a new foray in a new world, and for me it was just a wonderful experience. So this time, Deven, let's start with you again. Tell us about your experience, some of your memories, and some of the things that impacted you during the week.
Yeah. So I guess going into this in this conference, and just hearing about it beforehand, it is what I thought it was. It's what I expected, and I got so much out of it. Being the diehard fan that I am, but I feel I got a lot more out of this. Just learning more about the salary cap in depth, the media portion, analytics, you name it, and scouting and all that. And just getting to know the behind the scenes, what it takes to actually really excel at those jobs, and how to put your foot in the door to get to where you want to go. So I got a lot out of that. Just and I mentioned it many times throughout the week that there was not a single minute or second where I was bored with any of the content, because I loved everything about the conference.
Well, it's interesting because that's actually music to my ears. I only run the media portion. but then there's Dave, who's running the scouting, and then there's Larry, who's over everything, but he's running the salary cap aspect. So it's good to hear that the whole thing really was useful. Daniel, I know you want my job, and you're going to take my job one day soon. So tell us, overall, though, when you and I talked before the program started, and I was trying to tell you what I thought you would get out of it, when the screen clicks up on Monday morning, what are you expecting, and how is it different? How did it fit what you were talking about? And you know, what did you get out of it?
First of all, I don't have the voice to replace you. In terms of what I was expecting, I mean, right, I knew that it wasn't just the media side, but I think, as probably many media members will tell you, it definitely doesn't hurt to learn more about the CBA. It doesn't hurt to learn more about how scouting works, how people use analytics, how they break down film. So just that's sort of the mindset I went into it. Not that, I don't want to, I'm not really looking to go into the front office, so this stuff doesn't concern me. Just, I think this was something that everyone at SBC preached. You can't. Do
you think it would make you better as a media member to know that at the level you do now?
For sure. I think it's always good to have that kind of insight. And I think more than what I know is also the stuff I realize I don't know, and the stuff I still have to work on, like the CBA, which, as Larry Kuhn showed us, is very expansive and has a lot of details to it. And yeah, just being able to take that to the media side and sort of have that background of being able to dip into that when needed, I think is very valuable.
Lawrence, tell us about your experience. I was interested in, I'm working on it from my perspective to teach you something, but you're trying to receive this information. So when you click on Monday morning, what were you expecting and hoping for? And then Friday, when you click off, what did you receive, and how was that experience for you?
It was a tremendous experience. I mean, I was able to, digest all the information that was given. It was very easy to understand as we went along. It wasn't, it wasn't rushed, or it wasn't explained in a way where it would be hard to comprehend. It was and having the PowerPoint, being able to see it on screen, and then also being able to revert back to it later on demand was also great for us, because even if you did miss something, you knew in the back of your mind you can get back to it at some given point. So like Daniel said, I love the fact that even though I had an idea in mind of what I wanted to get into, which was like the scouting and player personnel side, but to understand the CBA, to understand the salary cap, and to get those things under your belt, it just makes you, a more polished speaker as you're talking about the NBA as a whole. And that's something that, is extremely valuable. As, we talked to many people who are working in the league and around the league. And even Amin, when he came on to speak to us, telling us about his interview and how they thought he was doing one thing. And he was like, yeah, I did that, but I also did a host of other things. And that just creates more value for yourself, the more knowledge that you can accumulate.
So I want to jump off script just a little bit. So hang on in the background, Deven. Let's go through this real quick. Lawrence, line us up so the viewers know, what is your career goal? What do you want to be doing so we know what you're pursuing and what you're trying to learn?
I want to get into scouting and analytics, covering the NBA from the sports media perspective. So whether it's podcasting or writing, just being in sports journalism is ultimately what I want to do, but I want to do it tailored towards speaking on scouting and analytics.
So sort of the draft coverage and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, draft coverage, breaking down of players from that perspective, yes.
Gotcha. Daniel, you've established that you're not going to take my job, but what are you hoping to do in 5 to 10 years?
Kind of like Lawrence, definitely enter the sports journalism field, whether that's writing, podcasting, TV. There's so many different avenues you could take, but that's just, I guess, the main goal is to just be able to talk about basketball, both sort of on the surface, but also be able to sort of look below and just sort of break things down. If you talk about why you say a player's struggling, be able to explain why and how the defense is doing that. So, sort of the basic sort of narrative stuff with also a bit more film work mixed in.
And for you, Deven, what are you hoping to do in 5, 10 years? What's your career objective?
Well, for me, getting into like the social media side of things on the basketball side, just like promoting, marketing, like what I'm doing with this fan account for the Jump, just kind of like get the word out there and just like tell everybody how great the show is and just like how you have to tune in, like how it's more than, it's not just like a pregame show. It's like it's as if you were talking basketball with some, like 3 or 4 of your best friends, like who are just as passionate about the game as you are. So yeah, just like social media and just like getting the word out there and just try to gain more followers, more fans, and just anybody who's really passionate about basketball and wants to like hear other people discuss about it for an hour.
So almost marketing from a social media standpoint then, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Gotcha. And then so the next thing I want to follow that with, how did this program help you out? And did it open up any areas that you weren't thinking about as possibilities, or at least areas that triggered in your mind some new interest? Deven, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I guess for me, like, I guess going into this, like, I knew like this wasn't going to guarantee me a job right away, but it was nice to know like a heads up, like what you need to do to prepare if you want to like get into this industry, because it's a very, very competitive industry to get into. And just like hearing from like the different speakers and everyone else that was involved with this virtual week, and just hearing what they had to go through to go from the bottom, then get all the way to the top to get to where they're at right now. So yeah, I guess for me, yeah, it was what I expected it to be, but it's just more of the like just like hearing about their stories and like hearing about what they had to go through to go to where they're at right now, and just like kind of like getting like asking questions and getting their feedback and kind of like take it into consideration. Like, if you want to get into this industry, you got to do this and that. It's not going to be given to you. You got to work for it and just go from there.
Trust me, that's very true. I can vouch for that. Lawrence, so you've told us your career objectives. You went through the program. How did the program help you, and did it change your direction at all, or did it just feed your desire to get to that point?
It ultimately just fed my desires, especially talking to a guy like Dave DeFore, who does, pretty much exactly what I want to do, which is cover the game in the same manner. He's over at the Athletic and writing and podcasting and speaking in different platforms. And that's exactly what I want to do. And to have a person that I can directly relate to and speak with and pick the brain of, which I still owe him a email, so to speak. But it's been good to interact with him on Twitter and speak with him from that nature, and also meet a lot of you guys. Same with you, Bo, and exchanging emails and being able to do an example like doing a lead. And I did it, and you actually liked it. And I thought that was cool, because that's also something that I want to have my hand in too. Because talking to a lot of the different speakers that we had, they said don't have your focus so narrow, because your passion and your talents or your interest can lead you in different directions. And so coming into this, I wanted to make sure I kept an open mind in terms of not just having this, okay, well, this is all I want to do, so let me only focus on this. Let me give my full attention to every aspect, because you never know what you might pick up that can trigger a different passion or a different interest. So it helped overall in that sense.
Daniel, to you, and it's the same question I'm thinking of here. It's just, we know what you want to do. We know what you learned in the program. Did it change your course any? Did it just feed what you were wanting to do more? How did it work for you?
It definitely fed what I wanted to do more, but also showed me there's many different ways to do it. Because I think there's so much, when you want to talk about the NBA, there's so much to talk about, like the TV,
Yeah.
like scouting. So I remember just like one of my biggest takeaways was when Seth Partnow, we were doing the film breakdown, and one of the things he talked about was how it's not just about the box score, what the box scores tell you, even what the specific clip of the box scores tell you, but it's just what the entire flow of the game shows about, player performance or team performance. And since that, I've really taken that to heart when it comes to, giving thoughts or opinions, analysis and whatnot.
So let's move on to highlights of the week, and Deven, we'll jump back to you. Tell us, some of your big highlights from the week, some of the stuff that you'll really remember.
Oh man, there's so many highlights. I wish I could name them all, but I guess one in particular. Oh man, it was just such a fun, exciting week to say the least. It just
Well, you were always there
yeah.
in the chat. You were
Yeah.
always there in the chat.
I was very active. Yeah.
And look at Daniel shaking his head. Daniel remembers that.
Yeah.
The Kobe logo, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what was there? I know there's one thing you want to talk about at the end, but were there some other speakers that hit you or something like that?
I guess like hearing about like Neil O'Shea and just like how he really like challenged us to like, if you haven't done this or that, raise your hand or put your hand down, and just like really like he really like got my attention. Like he really got me to like more motivated to like, if you really want to get into this industry, you got to do this and that. And just like hearing him speak about what he had to do to get to where he's at, that really opened my eyes and kind of like took it into account for myself to like, I need to do the same. If I want to get to where he's at, I got to do the same for myself, and just kind of make those connections, talk with people, ask as many questions as I can, and just go from there. And just, if I want to get to where I'm at, then you got to work for it. It's not going to be given to you.
Lawrence, for you, highlights of the week, things that you'll take away, things that you'll really remember that stand out for you.
I think first and foremost, I think it was just Larry Kuhn every morning, like having him on. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but it felt like a virtual coffee being drank in the morning. He was just such a calming influence, and very connected, very genuine. So it was really nice to just hear from someone like him every morning, and to just give you words of encouragement, give you direction, and just his presence overall in general, and just his fingerprint over the entire program over the week. It was just really nice to have a guy like that you felt a sense of, he paid attention to everyone. It wasn't as if he was just speaking to a crowd. He really engaged with anybody that he was speaking with, and that stood out to me. But speaking of Jeff, he also set the stage. I mean, his keys to success being the 4 Ps: passion, persistence, performance, and preparation. And I think all of that is necessary in whatever field you're trying to get into. And it was kind of a common theme throughout the week, because you need to be prepared. Obviously, all of us have a passion. You have to be persistent in trying to do what you're doing, and then obviously perform and being able to show work and being able to create value for yourself. So that was great. But as far as some of the speakers, Neil O'Shea, as Deven mentioned, obviously because of his path and just his relentless pursuit and getting there at at an older age, when, in today's world, you're supposed to have everything figured out by your late 20s, and life just doesn't go that way. So it was good to have an example of someone where we can normalize like hitting your goals, later on after college, and after, maybe you've made a couple of decisions. And then Amin Hassan, who, spoke to his path and how, he did a few different things in the front office with the Phoenix Suns, and that created value for him. And it took him in a direction that he didn't even know he was going to go. But ultimately, he still ended up doing something he loved, which is covering the game of basketball. And then Miriam, being so open and honest with us about her path and, why she loves journalism and speaking with people and telling other people's stories, which is something that I've always loved as well. I mean, as a former college basketball player myself, I always took a liking to,
Wait, whoa. Where did you play college basketball? That's got to be the league. Tell me more about this.
I played at Pacific Lutheran University. It's a D3 school. I was at Seattle Pacific before that, but I transferred because they literally had a Final Four team coming back. And I was like, I want to play. So I ended up going down that way, and I played for a guy named Dave Denny that Albert Hall knows really well, which is kind of a backstory to how I got connected to Albert Hall.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, can you give us a scouting report on you as a player, having gone through the program? Can you give us an honest scouting report? Daniel and Deven haven't seen your clips, I assume, so we can't talk about you. Give us a quick scouting report.
I guess a quick scouting report on me would be love to play in the open court. aggressive three-point shooter, always gets his players involved, and is a great help defender.
Okay.
I'm okay, but help defender, I'm a little better at that.
Two things. Jeff is going to love that you remembered the 4 Ps. And one thing that Neil said that really hit me in the program, and he's going to be impressed with your scouting reporter yourself, is that, if you're hoping to land as an NBA GM and that's your only goal and that's it, and you're charting a tough course, like it's really, there's just so many more opportunities, and the chances of landing one of those 30 jobs like Neil has or somebody else has had or does have, it's really, really tough. But that's an impressive scouting report. Daniel.
They'll work really, really hard. So that's a given. So that doesn't make you unique. That doesn't put you in a position where you can add unique value to our organization. That's your ticket to get into consideration. But now my question comes, other than the 15 hours a week that you were probably in class, what were you doing with those other hours in college where you could have started on the path earlier as a manager, as someone working game nights, as someone being around the team, as coaching on the side at a boys and girls club or a local high school, working with the different youth organizations, running camps, working at clinics and things like that. So I can tell you with our organization that while there's value in things like this, you guys are behind the curve a little bit right now, because we have right now 3 full-time employees that all started out as team managers. One was at University of Arizona. Then he went to the WNBA team in Seattle, the Storm. We have another that was a senior manager and a graduate assistant manager at Syracuse, and another that was a graduate assistant manager at Duke. We also just hired a young gal who spent 3 years working at the Las Vegas Summer League, and we gave her an opportunity.
Well, there you go. We did learn a little something from him, didn't we? The thing that was interesting to me about Neil, and I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on this, was like it felt like, man, there is a lot you have to be doing constantly. You have to constantly be growing. You have to constantly be looking at the opportunities that are out there, surveying your skills where they match. And one other thing, and I'll let Daniel, you jump in on this, is he talked about, look, you guys aren't in your 40s or 50s or anything like that. You're in your 20s. So he talked about introducing yourself to people that are in your age group in the organization and making contacts that way. And I can tell you that your career will grow as their careers will. It'll make an impact that way. Daniel, if you want to touch on highlights of the week for you, what were some that you really enjoyed?
So one of the obvious highlights was the mock free agency. I think that was definitely an eye-opening experience for everyone.
Everybody's shaking their head on that one, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, that was just so overwhelming.
Well, tell us about that. Tell everybody, if they don't know what it was, what happened and what did you guys do?
So the summary is that we were all split into I believe it was 12 teams. It was?
Yep.
There were 12 teams. And so normally I believe SBC does a mock trade deadline, but they opted for free agency. And so me and actually Lawrence, we were part of the LA Clippers. And so free agency starts and you kind of have to figure out a plan. For the Clippers, it was a little bit easier because it was more so just about re-signing Montrezl Harrell or Marcus Morris. But then there were teams like Charlotte or like New York with lots of cap space and sort of what do they do with that? And so it was sort of on everyone, there was like a head decision maker and there were the cap guys and then there were sort of the scouting departments. So just a bunch of different aspects that everyone had to take on for the one common goal.
Okay, I've got 2 more questions for you real quick before we let you guys go. One thing was there, and let's start with you, Deven. Was there an assignment or something that we had you guys do, and it could be that mock free agency. Was there something like that you enjoyed most during the week that stood out for you?
I would say doing the CBA exercises that Larry provided us. I love math and I love figuring out like how the calculations are with the salary cap and how teams spend their money on players and like try to get to that, maintain that level of money to spend on players. So yeah, doing those exercises were really cool. Just like kind of like figuring out the numbers, like if he has this much years left on his contract or anything else, like how much would that be? Just like I love those kind of problems to solve, and that was my favorite part.
Well, I know that Larry's putting together a course that we're going to have here, and it's sort of an on-demand CBA mastery course. So if anybody else is interested in that, that's coming up through your Hall Pass and Sports Business Classroom channels, and it's something to look forward to. So all of you can get involved in this. Lawrence, for you, an exercise, something that you did during the week that you enjoyed the most?
There was a few things I enjoyed, but I did like the idea of us doing a recap every day and submitting it, because it just made you reflect on the day and what you absorbed and what you actually liked. And it was a good way for me to keep tally of just everything that I was thinking throughout the day that maybe I didn't get to mention, or something I wrote down because I was taking notes, or just getting my thoughts out on paper. Was something I really enjoyed, because like I said, it was a chance to reflect, and it really just brought even more value for me, because it was kind of like closing the book on the day, or putting a button on top of it, so to speak. So I really enjoyed doing the recaps, because it was just a good chance for me to just really just feel good about taking the class, because it was me echoing my own excitement or my own interest in what I was doing.
Okay, before we jump over to you, Daniel, I believe Albert Hall's going to hop back in with us, if that's right. There he is. What's up, bud? You're on mute. I'm sure somebody in the Hall Pass office. There he is.
There you go. 1 second. My apologies. I just wanted to interject, Bo. It's hard to sit here and watch without doing that. You know me. But
yeah,
watching the mock trade deadline, and this is important for our audience and for these guys. We didn't touch on it because you're getting through a lot of stuff. But the fact that you have Wes Wilcox, a former GM, Ryan McDonough, and I saw they were breaking down the Phoenix Suns. He's the one that built that team that was participating in the bubble. He's on the mock trade deadline. And then Sean Respert, who was a lottery pick, was traded, a player development coach for 3 different teams in the NBA, understands personnel and how it fits into the coaching perspective. It was fascinating. It really was. And for me, I'm usually at Summer League and I don't get to participate in these types of exercises. It really opened my eyes to what the possibilities are of teaching this type of material. But it was really important to point that out, that you had people that were in these positions making these moves, educating you all, which is unbelievable. And it's really just kind of stirred our wheels a little more to where, what can we do more of this? And you're going to see another offering from Sports Business Classroom in the future based on that type of a curriculum. So I just wanted to point that out. It was an unbelievable experience, not only for you guys, but for myself as well. We really enjoyed it.
Well, and I'm going to jump on what Albert says here. The first time I got to do the mock trade deadline was last year at Sports Business Classroom, when Albert was running around running the Summer League, as he talked about. And one of the things that stood out to me, and you guys got some of this as well this year, is you learn a little stuff behind the scenes, sort of the off-the-record details that the public doesn't get. That's really fascinating stuff on how these teams were built, some of the reasons the decisions were made. You get that sort of background that is unique to this Sports Business Classroom, and I found that both fascinating and really valuable, even for me as a journalist, but for students as well. I thought it was a huge takeaway for me.
And one last thing on that, Bo. People don't understand, but the ones evaluating the trades, acting as specific agents conducting these trades, were former alumni from SBC. So we were able to integrate people from our program that were hugely valuable to this thing going forward. And as we open the SBC, we told you, you all are part of something bigger here, and you see that people want to be engaged in this program. You're seeing the fruits of the labor start to materialize. We have the GM school upcoming in October, that show on NBA TV. But there's a lot of different elements of the SBC platform that continue to play it forward. So thanks again. I just wanted to interject that point.
No, it's a good point, Albert. Let's jump on to the last topic, fellas. And Daniel, I want to start with you. We talked about, I wanted to give you guys a chance to sort of exercise your muscles, talk about what you've learned at SBC. one series you're focusing on is this Heat Bucks series. You've gone through our scouting program. Tell us what you're seeing in this series, and the Heat up 2-0 on the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway that everyone sort of talked about is sort of this weird rotation Mike Budenholzer has been using. I knew we were going to talk about this, so I looked it up. They just have, let's see right here, 10 players on their roster are averaging at least 10 minutes a game. I think in the regular season, deep bench kind of works because it's more the marathon, not a sprint mentality. But come playoff time, you really want to shorten that rotation and play your best guys close to 40 minutes a game, and that's not really happening. Giannis is at 36.1, Middleton 35.1. Especially for Giannis, a guy who's only 25 years old, we marvel at his physical abilities. Simply put, that's got to be closer to 40.
Lawrence, for you, you're keeping your eye on this Clippers-Nuggets series that's coming up. And the thing is that's interesting to me that the Nuggets are there because a Mike Conley shot went in and out at the very end. It was an unbelievable finish there. What do the Nuggets have for these Clippers that a lot of people right now, I think they're the betting favorite, the Clippers, to win the title?
I think the biggest thing is there's no answer for Nikola Jokic. And that was the same thing for the Dallas Mavericks series. They had no answer for Porzingis. And so he's going to have to apply a lot of pressure. I know he wants to be a passer, but he needs to make sure that he is staying aggressive to keep the defense honest, because if he's looking for cuts and guys to get open and things like that, that's great. But I think they would be best suited if he becomes more aggressive scorer, which he has been. He was last series, but also with the bench, because I think both teams work on strength in numbers because both of them have very, very deep teams. But Gary Harris coming back is going to be big because they're going to need an extra body to throw out there on guys. And he's showing elite defensive ability since coming back. So it's going to be a great chess match to see how, Clippers want to use, Michael Porter Jr. He's not a great defender. They're going to hunt him down and put him in a lot of pick and rolls. But also from the Nuggets perspective, who can they take advantage of and who can come off the bench and be a consistent scorer for those guys? Because every game it's been a little bit of someone different. But I think someone's going to have to step up and be consistent for this team so that they can get over the hump.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if Jamal Murray can put up the kind of numbers he did against Utah against a 6'7", 6'8" guy like Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, somebody with size on the wing that's trying to shut him down, because that's not easy when you're maybe 6'4", probably closer to 6'3", and you're going up against 6'7", 6'8". Believe me, I know, because I'm more Jamal Murray's size. It's a tough challenge, right, Lawrence?
Absolutely. And that's a given as well. I think his ability to continue scoring, not to mention with these guys playing every other day, the fatigue factor can kick in. I think it might be adrenaline first game, but hopefully they still keep their legs, because Jamal Murray, while he doesn't need to necessarily get 50, but they still need him to be one of their primary scorers in this series. But like you said, they have Paul George and Kawhi and Marcus Morris if needed. So it'll be interesting to see. I think, like I said, it's going to be a chess match in terms of how they take advantage of some of the coverages.
Well, you guys have learned a lot. You did a good job breaking down those series. Deven, I wanted to end with you. I know you had a moment this week that impacted you and was important to you. So if you could, I wanted to give the floor to you. Just share what happened and what you remember.
Yeah, so one of the speakers, Marion Fader of Bleacher Report, one of the questions that I asked her during her Q&A session was, like, when it comes to her writing stories, like, how does it feel to get the rejection for people that may or may not want to talk to you? And then I heard her response about it, saying it's tough, but you just got to keep writing, do the best you can to try to write the best you can to get the point across. And just by asking that kind of relates back to job searching, the rejection part of it. So someone may not want to speak with you about a particular story, but there's rejection all around. The rejection,
there's that moment
tough to take on. Yeah.
No, so the rejection is tough, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just especially if you want to get into this industry, it's super competitive. You're going to apply, and you get the interviews, and There may be some yeses, there may be some nos, but don't lose hope and just keep applying until you get to where you want to get at, and hope for the best.
All right, guys. Again, I wanted to thank all of you for coming on. And Daniel, I appreciate you promising to not take my job in the future. Lawrence, the same goes for you. Yeah, and again, I just think that there is such a value from what you guys talked about. Daniel and Lawrence, particularly, you guys are trying to go into the media, but you learn so much from the salary cap and from scouting and how you can, how Lawrence can take Dave Dufour's job. And I encourage that. Dave Dufour doesn't need to work as much as he does. And Deven, I hope you're my boss at Turner Sports one day. We have Morgan Mitchell down there. She does a wonderful job. We have Matt Wickline down there, but I hope you're down there soon too, because you guys have done a wonderful job going through this program, and we're all really proud of you. And we hope that not only you stick with us, but you guys stick together as students of that class of 2020 at SBC.
Absolutely, for sure.
Definitely. We've been trying to stay in contact in different ways, so I like it. I mean, we definitely have camaraderie. Being that you can't be in person, it's definitely a testament to all of us that, we care, and the energy that you guys have set for us as well in terms of just staying connected. I think it's just an energy that is organic, and so it's easy to reach out.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. And make sure you get on VSL Talent, because we want you guys on there so that you can get jobs. That's a part of this entire Hall Pass experience and the sports business classroom experience. And we'll stick with you. And one thing that I want to say is, what Daniel and Lawrence said, you can learn this CBA through this opportunity, this on-demand opportunity that Larry Kuhn is putting together. So just keep watching Sports Business Classroom and keep watching Hall Pass, because Larry Kuhn is putting together a CBA Mastery course. There it is, CBA Mastery with Larry Kuhn, and he is quite a cup of coffee. If you're going to learn from him, he's the right guy to learn from. So, you see the website down there, www.ondemand.sportsbusinessclassroom.com. Hop over there, learn the CBA. Whether you want to go into that aspect of business or not, you'll be smarter as you approach journalism, as you approach any angle of this business, knowing what Larry has to teach. So thanks again, guys. We will talk to you soon. And thanks to all of you who are watching. We want to make sure that you watch all the shows on the Hall Pass Network. They're all fantastic. There you can see it. It's Hall Pass Hoops Web Shows, the pickup game with Seth Greenberg, Basketball Jones with the great Mark Jones, and the Off-Court Connection. And right here, it's the Sports Business Classroom Web Show with yours truly. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.